And here we are with the epic conclusion to the trilogy of math lessons, common factors and common multiples. Learning goal for today is to use prime factorization to identify common factors and common multiples. So what is the greatest common factor, or as you might know it, GCF? Well, the greatest common factor is the greatest whole number, so it's not decimals or fractions. It's the greatest whole number, it's the biggest whole number that divides into two or more whole numbers with no remainder. So again, we're not dealing with fractions or decimals. We are dealing with whole numbers. So let's take a look at an example of what this means. Here we have an example of factors. You might remember these as factor rainbows from last year. Okay, so we used them to figure out what the greatest common factor was. So you have to figure out all these factors for the number 8. And look at that, it makes a double rainbow. That is so exciting. It's a double rainbow. And over here we have all the factors for 12. And you'd look at that and you would say that, okay, we're going to look at all the factors. Which are the common ones? 1, 2, and 4. We have the common ones 1, 2, not 3. But 4. Okay, and you're looking at the greatest common factor. And a lot of people get this mixed up and they say the lowest common factor. Okay, but that is, we don't need to know that because the lowest common factor for everything would always be 1, so we would never have to figure anything out. So for factor, it's the greatest, okay, the biggest common factor. Now let's go back and recap what the least common multiple is. And these usually get mixed up. Some people, or a lot of times people say the greatest common multiple and the least common multiple, the least common factor. Okay, but that would be incorrect. You're looking for the greatest common factor and the least common multiple. And so let's go with, pull this up. And so the least common multiple, or the LCM, is the least whole number, or the lowest whole number, that has 2 or more given numbers as factors. And so here we have examples of least common multiple. Okay, and I'm going through these a little bit fast because it's just recap from grade 7. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, just back it up, rewind it, watch it again, just so that you have a better understanding. So least common multiple, we just list things out. It's like skip counting, okay, or writing numbers in terms. So you have like 8 times 1 equals 8, 8 times 2 equals 16, 8 times 3 equals 24, 8 times 4 equals 32, and so on, okay? And this can go on forever. That's why you don't look for the greatest common multiple. You look for the least common multiple, because multiples will just go on for as long as you keep counting until you decide that you're lazy and don't want to count anymore. Okay, so this list can go on for as long as you want. That's why we look for the least common multiple. That's the lowest. Okay, and here we have 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 12 times 4. It just gives us all the numbers. Just again, skip counting: 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, and so on. And then what we'd look for is, we'd look for common multiples. And let me just change the color here. Common multiples being things like, we got 24 here, we have 48, we have 72, and then there would be other ones that are somewhere out this way. Okay, but we're looking for the least and the lowest, so we don't need to count anymore because we have this here. 24 is our least common multiple between 8 and 12. But Mr. Atkinson? Yes, student with a problem. What do greatest common factor and LCM have to do with prime factors? Well, that's a very good question, student with a problem. And so let's move on and find the answer for that. So to start figuring this out, we just need to take the number 8. Oh, that was a horrible 8. And the number 12. And we're going to figure out their prime factors. So I know that 8 is a even number, so I'm going to say 2. 2 divided by 8 equals 4. Those factors work out. 2 is a prime number, so we don't have to do that anymore. We have 2 and 2, okay, because 4 divided by 2 equals 2, this 2 right here. It's a prime number. Prime number, again, if I'm going fast, you can just go back to the lesson on prime factorization, and there I do a much better job of teaching you and just explaining this. So we have 2, 2, and 2, okay, or 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So 8 equals 2 as its prime factors, 2 times 2 times 2. And on this side, even number, 2, 12. Prime number, 12 is not, oh, that's not, sorry, I'm rushing. Let's slow this back. And see what happens when you rush. Even when you know what you're doing, it's very easy to make mistakes. So, 2 is a prime number, okay? 12 divided by 2 equals 6. There we go, slowing things down. 6 is a composite number because it's even. And 6 divided by 2 equals 3. And 3 is a prime number. 2 is a prime number, we know that. So we have 12 on this side equals 2 times 2 times 3. So now that we have our numbers factored out, we can move on and figure out greatest common factor and lowest common multiple. Oh my gosh, why is there a Venn diagram looking at me? See, look, there's eyeballs. Well, it's not looking at you. It's going to help you save you some work so you don't have to figure out all the multiples of 2, 3, 4 different numbers, and also of all the factors for factor rainbows of like 3, 4 different numbers, because this will give you the greatest common factor and lowest common multiple of any series of numbers that you use. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We have our work from before, so we figured out what our prime factors are for the number 8 and the number 12. So what you want to do with this Venn diagram, this side, let's take blue here, this side is going to be for the number 8, this side is going to be for the number 12. Okay, we're going to put in the prime numbers, okay, for 8, right here, and we're going to put the prime numbers for number 12 here, and anytime there's a common number, or a common prime factor, I guess I should say, goes here. So it just works like the same way you've learned how to use Venn diagrams. And so here's how we fill this out. We look at this and we say, okay, there's a number 2 here, there's a number 2 here, that's common, so I'm going to cross that out, I'm going to cross that out, I'm going to put in a 2 right in the middle there. I'm going to take a look at this 2, okay, next, and hey, look at that, there's a 2 in this list right here, so I'm going to put a 2 right in the middle there, cross that out, now I'm going to look at this last number, that's 2, I look over here, that is not a 2, that is a 3. So I'm going to say, you know what? That prime factor belongs to 8. It does not belong to 12 as well. Okay? Because it's a different 2 than this one and this one. That's why you just want to pair things up. And when you have a pair, it goes in this middle section here. And when you don't, it goes to this side or this side. How many arrows can I draw to make this more confusing? Let's find out. So 8 has, all by itself, a prime factor of 2, it shares 2 2's as prime factors with 12. And now here we have our 3 all by itself. It's not shared with 8 because we're all done this. So we can write it down here. So 3 is the lone prime factor for 12. Okay? And how we use this to figure out our GSF and lowest common multiple is, first we'll go with the greatest common factor, and we're going to use this section. Let's change our color here so it's a little bit different so you can see what's happening. Okay, we're going to use this right here. Okay, so our greatest common factor, okay, is going to be what we're going to use our shared numbers. Okay, so our greatest common factor is going to be 2 times 2. Okay, and that equals 4. Okay, oh my goodness, that's horrible. So your greatest common factor is 4, some resemblance of 4. Our lowest common multiple, okay, and we know that this is our lowest common, or greatest common factor from before. Our lowest common multiple, we're going to figure out by multiplying all of these numbers together. So this 2 by these 2's and this 3. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2. And I like crossing things out when I'm doing it so that I know I'm not forgetting anything. Times 3, and that equals, let's see, 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 3 equals 6. This equals, which equals 24. 4 times 6 equals 24. And we know that that's correct. So our greatest common factor is 4. And our lowest common multiple is 24.